Good Shabbos from the holy, beautiful city of Tzfat. That is Meron. That is where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is buried, in this very area where you're looking at. The Holy Zohar was written. The Zohar contains the deepest secrets of life. And this very location is where God sent the Ari HaKadosh, the Holy Ari, also called Ari Achai, to come and to live. And this became the center of the expansion of this wisdom, which culminated in the Baal Shem Tov, then the Magid, and then the Alter Rebbe, the Mitzvah Rebbe, Tzemach Tzedek, Rebbe Marash, Rebbe Rashab, and the previous Rebbe, who actually is the leader of our generation. The Rebbe always referred to his father-in-law, who was the Rebbe for 30 years prior, as the leader of the generation. The soul, certainly the soul of a tzaddik, never passes. And he continuously informed the Rebbe on the direction that he should lead the Jewish world in. This is the day, this Shabbos Yud Shvat, that the Rebbe actually became Rebbe and literally brought the wisdom of God to this world. And if we had to encapsulate what the Rebbe said, even though there are over 200 books from his teachings and his writings, but you could summarize it in a single word. And the word is love. Because ultimately, everything that a person knows is just knowledge, and knowledge is limited. Once upon a time, people thought they were smart. I forgot who it was. I think it was Isaac Asimov, who wrote 3 books on science, and there was all the wisdom that the world had. He was so proud of himself that he had known it was everything. This is it. And now every single field of science, whether it's a tree or a bug, you can study it infinitely. It gets deeper and deeper. In fact, a friend of mine, Dr. Paul Wildman, was sent by his board. He supervises all the studies of the universities in Switzerland. He told me he was the highest paid student in the world to discover all the latest discoveries of science. And when he came back, he gave a lecture called The Limit of Human Intelligence. Because in every single field of science, we realize now that our intelligence simply, cannot comprehend what is going on. No mind can understand how the atom functions, even the DNA. These are the 2 things that make up all non-living and living matter, and none of it is understandable. And the bottom line is, this is because we need to have love in this world. And for love to exist, we actually need to let go of our understanding and embrace what is beyond our understanding. So in life, you could have one of 3 levels. You can have lower than intelligence, when a person is animalistic, following their instincts, certainly anger. You can have basic intelligence, which is, well, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And then you can have higher than intelligence, which is just like you follow your GPS or your doctor because they know more than you. So also you follow the Creator's will, because if there is a mind and a heart that made everything and everyone and keeps it going every moment, obviously He knows what's best, and He loves us more than we love ourselves. And therefore, that in this aspect of faith, in which all people are one, for nobody is smarter than the other when it comes to God. You can have the best mathematician in the world. His mind and the dumbest person is equal to an infinite computer that can do infinite equations at the same time. And so relative to God, who's infinite, we are all nothing. And His wisdom is there, His love is there for each of us. No one should think they're greater or less than another. We are all part of His story, history, and we all have a part in the story. And when we all embrace this knowledge, this idea that there is one God for all of us, and we all have a part in His story, and His story is a beautiful story. As Einstein, who was a big seeker of truth, said, we don't know the truth of God, but when we do, I am sure it will be simple and beautiful. And it is simple. A loving Creator created you out of love. And it is beautiful, for each one of us gets to have a part in that love. For by me being my best self and you being your best self, and sharing and caring and helping, and certainly in the unity of marriage and the bonds of the Jewish people and all people, in this sense, we create the love that we all desire. So there's really just one word, there's one direction. It's the direction of love. And I'm going to put a link to my book, Kabbalah Love, From Fear to Love. Because often we get into a state of fear. We're often afraid of criticism. So we're afraid to be ourselves, and we are jealous of people that aren't, and then we find what's wrong with them and we criticize them. 90% of all of these negative movements led by Obama previously, which is all about criticizing Israel, criticizing people with money, criticizing white people, criticizing. All of this comes from an innate sense of lack of self-worth, and a jealousy of those who have basically self-value. This entire craziness of criticizing Israel, supporting terrorism, it's all based on one thing: people who don't love themselves. And when people feel jealous of people that do, the jealous mind finds ways to make excuses. Through thousands of years, anti-Semitism found every single excuse, but it was always for one thing: just to murder Jews. And that's not acceptable. That's despicable. And we're entering into the Messianic age, when the distinction between good and evil, love and hate, kindness and cruelty is here. It's clear, and it's never been clearer. And we all have to ask ourselves on this very holy Shabbos one question: do I want to follow the Rebbe? Do I want to be part of love? Or do I want to follow Hitler? Do I want to be part of hate? Because today, you're either a Jew, you're either part of love, or you're part of hate, basically. And there is no distinction. The lines have never been clearer. It's never been more simple. And this is the truth. And so please spread this video, because the mind and their desires, like an addict, are able to self-justify and turn violence into stupid calls, people thinking it's resistance. There never was a Palestinian people. Actually, there was an ancient Philistine people, but if you look in all history books, they disappeared 2,500 years ago with all the other ancient peoples except for the Jews from the land of Israel. They're just Arabs, and they're Arabs that are Muslim Arabs. And not only are they Muslim Arabs, they're Muslim terrorist Arabs, just like there are Muslim terrorists all over that want to kill all the Western world. They believe in murder, they believe in taking over our lands, because this is what the Quran tells them to do. And this is what they're doing. This is what ISIS is. This is what Al-Qaeda is. It's the same story. It's just with different clothing. And so you need to be somebody that's clever. You can't be a fool. You can't be fooled by people that want to kill you and are using you as a puppet for their nefarious aims. There were even Jews who voted for Hitler. People can't imagine that people can be savages. But Islam has a history of 1,400 years of barbarism. There's no group in human history that has killed more people. Approximately 700 million people, I want you to understand that number, 700 million people have been butchered by Islam. Islam, as the Rambam, one of the greatest sages, say, didn't innovate anything. It took from Judaism core principles, even some from Christianity, and it innovated one thing: using the sword to get your way. And that's why Islam is not a normal religion. Islam is a religion in which, even though there are many good Muslims that don't necessarily participate, but the Islam itself, the basis of Islam, the Quran, is, as I asked one person, he told me he read the Quran to understand what its message is, and I said, so what's its message? He said, the message is, kill the Jew, kill the Christian. The last thing that Muhammad said before he died was, there will be a rock, and behind the rock there will be a Jew, and the rock will say, come and kill the Jew. It is a call to murder, which Islam has been doing for 1,400 years. And if you're a Muslim, you should be standing out and saying that you don't stand from this thing. Where are the Muslims? Why are they not coming out against murder? It is not okay. And so we basically have a world now in which the Christians and the Jews believe in life, and Islam believes in death. Not all Muslims, many Muslims are good, but Islam itself believes in death. And if good people don't do more good, as Einstein said, all evil needs is for good people to watch on and do nothing. So now's the time. Call your congressman, call your senator, tell them you support Israel, and most importantly, give your life to God, because it's really a spiritual battle. Love is stronger than hate, and if you give your life to love, love will win and hate will lose. Let's all do it.